He never spoke about his past, never corrected anyone who called him just the night guy. For 3 years, Thomas worked the graveyard shift at the weapons depot, invisible and forgotten. Until the night someone finally looked close enough to see who was really guarding their most dangerous secrets. Welcome to Tales of Valor. Before we continue this powerful story, tell us in the comments which city you're watching from today. And if you believe stories like this deserve to be heard, hit that subscribe button to support the channel. Thomas "Tommy" Mitchell was 58 years old and worked as a night watchman at the weapons depot on Pendleton Marine Base. For 3 years, he'd walked the same routes, made the same checks, maintained the same silence. Nobody had ever bothered to ask about his past. The young Marines called him the night guy. Some said cruder things. Sergeant Jake Williams, 26, the newly assigned security supervisor, had questioned his superiors about him. "Why is this old guy still here?" he'd asked. "Minimum wage workers, the type who can't find jobs anywhere else." Captain Sarah Johnson had added, "Tommy's a good man, but this job is for younger guys. Modern security procedures, technology. His time has passed." Thomas ignored all of it. Every night, he clocked in at 2200 hours, finished at 0600, went home and slept quietly. But Thomas knew things. He knew every corner of the weapons depot, every shadow, where every sound came from. He could distinguish which footsteps were normal and which were suspicious. That night was different. At 0317 hours, the perimeter alarm began blaring. Thomas stopped immediately. This wasn't a false alarm. Someone had breached the fence. He reached for his radio. "Security control, this is Tommy. Got an alarm in Sector 7. Moving to investigate." "Tommy, stay put," the dispatcher said. "We're sending a team." But Thomas was already moving. 25 years of Force Recon training still lived in every cell of his body. He moved silently towards Sector 7. Shadow to shadow, soundless. 2 armed figures were approaching the main building. Professional movements, military trained. Thomas took position. He keyed his radio, speaking in a whisper. 2 armed suspects, 50 meters from main building, moving toward weapons depot. "Tommy, fall back. Reinforcements will be there in 10 minutes. 10 minutes is too long." Thomas clicked off his radio. The suspects had entered the building. Inside were America's most advanced weapons. In the wrong hands, it would be catastrophic. He slipped in through the rear entrance. He could hear footsteps. 2 people with heavy bags, heading toward a specific target. Thomas followed them. At the end of the corridor, they were approaching the main weapons vault. "Stop!" His voice rang with authority. Both suspects turned, pointing their weapons at him. "Who are you, old man?" one asked mockingly. "Security guard?" Thomas's posture changed. He was no longer a tired 58-year-old watchman. He was a Force Recon Marine. "Final warning, drop your weapons." "Or what?" the other one laughed. Thomas moved. Speed, precision, and lethal efficiency. He neutralized the first man in 3 seconds. The second tried to fire, but Thomas was already beside him. 2 minutes later, both suspects were on the ground, unconscious but alive. Thomas cuffed them and collected their weapons. His radio crackled. "Tommy, what's your status?" 2 suspects neutralized. "You can come in now." 5 minutes later, reinforcements arrived. Sergeant Williams led 6 armed soldiers who surrounded the depot. When they entered, they froze. Thomas was calmly leaning against the wall, watching 2 cuffed suspects. He wasn't even out of breath. "What? How?" Williams stammered. "How did this happen?" Captain Johnson asked in amazement. Thomas remained silent for a long time. Then he pulled a small badge from his pocket. Old, faded, but still readable. "Force Recon Marine." Everyone froze. Force Recon. Williams' mouth hung open. "You were a real Force Recon Marine?" 25 years, Thomas answered calmly. 3 wars, 47 covert operations. But now I'm just a night watchman." Johnson wiped her eyes. We said you were. You thought I was old and useless," Thomas smiled. "You were right too. I am old. But some things are never forgotten." Williams stepped forward and saluted. "Sir, we apologize. We didn't recognize who you were. You didn't need to recognize me. Thomas put the badge back in his pocket. I was just doing my job. That night, when the report was written up the chain, nobody described Thomas as just a night watchman. The report read, "Retired Force Recon Marine, Thomas Mitchell, neutralized enemy agents, eliminating a national security threat." The next night, Thomas returned to his shift. Same route, same checks. But now it was different. The young Marines called him Sir. They saluted him with respect. And Thomas still did his job with the same quiet dedication. Because that's how real warriors live. Humbly, quietly, but always ready. The lesson learned that night was never forgotten. Never judge someone by their appearance. Because even people working the most ordinary jobs can have extraordinary pasts. If this story moved you, subscribe to our channel, hit that like button, and write respect in the comments. Because at Tales of Valor, we believe the most powerful stories don't shout, they wait quietly.